So you see somebody getting carjacked across the street, and you're like, well, I'm an armed American, and he shouldn't be able to do that because that's wrong. Can you step in and do something about that? Let's ask the lawyer.
To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below.
This one's out of Chile. The car in white is the intended victim of a carjacking, and the car in gray across the street, uninvolved bystander who happens to be an off-duty cop, draws his gun and one-handed domes that guy, tries to put a shot in the second guy who immediately regrets his life choices and nopes off into the wild blue yonder. Our intended victim nopes off as well, so you see our officer who appears to be a little sartorially challenged, shall we say. His fashion choices may be suspect, but his marksmanship is not.
So you've seen the video. I think there's certainly some tactical stuff for us to talk about.
Yes.
You know, I also said there was some stuff on the main channel about his outfit to talk about.
I read some of the comments. People were calling him like a I think he used the term dreamsicle or something.
Yeah, he looked like a creamsicle.
But then somebody pointed out that also the Hulk had the same color scheme. I saw that on there. So yeah,
more power to him. And you know, it's bringing the 80s back. So the mullet is back. So if you have that, you need to have a mullet. By the way, this is not a mullet.
When you just throw those clothes on and run to the market at 2 in the morning, remember, this could be the conversation we're having if something goes awry.
And you get in a gunfight.
Yeah. So be wary.
Give you a hard time about your fashion choices.
Not to mention your booking photograph, everything else, yeah.
So what do you make of him? I mean, he didn't face a deadly threat, but somebody else did.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the rule in terms of defending someone
The
else?
rule's pretty simple. I can't remember, was that in another country?
It was in Brazil.
That's what I thought, the Brazilian case. So again, I'm not going to speak to Brazilian law. We're going to transplant the case to here and use the law that I'm comfortable with. In Arizona, it's one of our Title 13, Chapter 4 exceptions. It's an actual justification. It is what's called defense of a third party.
Yeah.
And the standard is actually exactly the same. Are you reasonably in fear for the life of another party? So we go through the same whole, threatability, imminence, all the stuff. We do the same analysis. But if a reasonable person would be in fear for someone else's life, you can intervene, usually with the force to protect someone else's life, just the same as yours. That's the legal standard. What I always tell people is the facts are going to be a lot different, because if I'm the victim, if I'm using self-defense, I probably know how this story began.
Right.
I've been there since it started. If I walk around a corner and I see a woman stabbing a guy, I see a guy stabbing a woman with a knife, and I decide that this guy's attacking this girl, I'm going to save her life, and I'm going to shoot the guy, and we find out later that she'd already stabbed him 16 times and was trying to get the gun off his ankle, and he was stabbing her to keep her off of a gun, and you just chose wrong. Indiana Jones Part 3, you chose poorly.
Yeah.
You got to be really careful about, you came into the movie when the movie was almost over and decided how the movie had started. You didn't see the beginning of the movie. So the risks are greater, yeah.
I still think if you reasonably believed, I came and saw a man stabbing a woman to death, I thought, oh no, she was gonna die. So I drew a gun and shot that guy. From a criminal perspective, I think because of the defense of third party, did you reasonably believe that you were preventing a death or great bodily injury? Yes. Okay, then you're legally justified.
The case that I'm talking about was a real case that happened in Texas 30-some years ago, and no charges were filed. The person that shot the off-duty cop who was defending himself against a stalker, it was a lot like the movie Fatal Attraction, for those of you that remember that. No charges were filed against the guy that shot the cop.
Sure.
But every morning for the rest of his life, he's standing in front of a mirror shaving, looking at a cop killer. He chose wrong. So he wouldn't have known that. I mean, if it would have been worse if he stood there and watched an innocent woman get slaughtered. Arguably, yes.
Yeah. Now,
but
if you watch the big channel in knowing the facts here, you're sitting in your car, I don't know, scrolling your social media, and you see two dudes roll up on a moto, and one little skinny dude jumps off the moto with a gun and sticks it in the face of a person, and you're probably not going, well, that's probably a law enforcement officer who is, conducting a lawful stop.
It's probably a college prank.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's probably that's those silly college kids.
Right.
They're playing assassin. No, you're probably going, yeah, that's a gunfight, that's a carjacking, and you go, oh man, I gotta stop that.
Right.
Now, remember, you have no legal obligation to stop it.
Correct.
Right. So because you have no legal obligation to do it, well, you own the outcomes.
Right.
And so I think if you're a high responder, maybe you choose you got to do it.
And by the way, that's a point to make. I want to reassert that point because a lot of people, again, you guys may know, I've taught CCW classes for going on like 32 years now with thousands and thousands and thousands of students, and it's rare that I get a question I haven't faced before. And a lot of people are under the impression that if I get a CCW permit, that forces me to be a good Samaritan. I'm now required to come to the assistance of a cop. I'm now required to come to the assistance of anybody else. No, you're not. And thank God.
Yeah,
I don't want to live in a society where people are forced to have duties like that. I mean, can you imagine if the guy who's painting your house was forced to paint your house? I mean, how it would turn out? So
Terrible.
I'm glad we don't have that. Some of us are compelled to do it from our own moral standards, but thankfully society does not place that burden on you. And I think
moral
that's a good
compulsion
thing.
and legal compulsion are different things.
Yep.
There is some in American society, like legal compulsion for medical professionals in medical emergencies to step in and help some.
Mm-hmm.
If they are a specialist in that area, it's not as big as what a lot of people think. You know what I mean? It's not like, is there a doctor in the house? And, well, yeah, I'm a podiatrist. Well, cool. This guy's dying of a heart attack right now. Well,
we were in a department store once and my wife's a doctor and they said, is there a doctor? We need a doctor in the housewares, whatever. And she didn't want to go. And I'm like, we got to go. You're a doctor. We got to go. So we went over there and she got there just as this other guy come walking up. And he looked at her. She looked at him. He goes, urology. And she goes, pediatrics. And she goes, you win. He's an adult. And she left.
You win. He's an adult. I'm out of here. So, again, there's some of that, but in the realm of CCW, the realm of justified use of force, you have zero. You can literally watch somebody get murdered next to you and you have no legal obligation to do anything about it. But you might feel immoral.
And but know the difference, right? Know the difference between moral and legal. You're not legally required to do that. So,
well,
because if you think you are legally required, it's going to make you jump into situations that you certainly shouldn't jump into. So just know the distinction there.
But the cool part, you have no legal obligation to step in there, but every state in the union has some kind of basically the same law of the defense of a third party.
Right.
There's not a state that doesn't have it. That you can defend a third party as you reasonably believe that they can defend themselves. So based on objective evidence, you ascertain a threat of death or great bodily harm to them, so you can defend them like they would defend them. Now there was until recently, Ohio was like the last holdout that they called an alter ego defense, that you could defend them as if they could defend them with the actual facts. So in the case of the guy who's stabbing the woman and his work is justified, if you shot him in Ohio until recently, and this was a couple of years ago, you could be criminally liable because you made a mistake there. Ohio changed that again, and so every state is
in
the same.
theory that would be true here if the mistake was obvious enough.
Sure.
If a reasonable person would not have felt that person was in fear for their life. So I mean, I know that's not much different. I don't know what the statute says, but it's
pretty tight.
Yeah, you're still going to be, if a reasonable person would have believed that, then you're probably okay.
So again, so the laws, I think, here's one of those instances where moral use of force and legal use of force are pretty much an overlapping circle. That, hey, you don't have to step in because we recognize that it's a risk to you to step in. But if you feel compelled to, you're certainly justified to. That we recognize that the defense of life is a societal good, and so we're going to give you.
It should be paramount, right?
It is.
It's not always, but it should be.
Yeah. And so, this guy stepping in to defend a third party, I think is laudable, right? I think you go, hey, we should be grateful for people like that.
And you said he was an off-duty cop, right?
Yeah, he was.
So, we all know off-duty cops who would not get involved in this because that's paperwork on my day off, and they would just drive away and not even admit they ever saw it. I mean, they're out there. So it was very laudable what this guy did.
Yeah, and I know off-duty cops are like, I'll call it in, but I'm not getting involved.
Right.
But there are some things that are so shocking to the conscience that you just have to. I love my off-duty cop friends that see somebody breaking a law that's not hurting anybody, and they go, whatever. It's not my world. I ain't on duty right now. I ain't getting paid. You see somebody speeding, you see somebody doing something that's not hurting anybody. Great.
But meanwhile, you see a guy going into a school and shooting kids. I mean, hopefully,
you better
who's
step
not
in.
Going to step into that.
Yeah,
right?
you better. So again, I want us to just recognize what this video reminds us is that when we choose to defend a third party, this is good. I think make sure you have the skills. That's a whole separate discussion. But from a legal standpoint, it's what do you reasonably believe was happening to that person?
And the last lesson, of course, is if you pull off the world's luckiest shot and it's perfectly appropriate, don't admit that it was the world's luckiest shot.
No, you meant every bit of that. The headshot was 100%
I was aiming at his left eye. I'm really sad I hit him in the right eye. I mean, that was just unacceptable.
Aimed out the door left-handed, one-handed, and hit him in the head. Absolutely. Saw this.
Take credit.
Saw the front sight all day long. Put it right there. I missed a little bit left, so it went in his ear and not in his temple. But hey, we'll take that.
Luck
kind of
schmuck. That was a well-aimed shot by
That's
y'all. Yeah.
that's when I say, I go back to Masad Ayub's statement is, you get Masad Ayub being Masad Ayub, who if you understand, I love Moss.
I adore the guy.
And, I've talked to him on the phone every once and again. Consider him a faraway mentor. And John, every once in a while, God looks down from heaven and says, "I've had it with that asshole." And yeah, okay.
You are God's instrument at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Guys, if you've never taken a class from Mass, take one. I don't know how much longer he's going to be teaching. And he is so, you learn so much and he's so entertaining. He can tell the world's filthiest joke followed by the most accurate Shakespearean quote 3 seconds later. He's a hoot.
I think Mag 40, the Armed Citizens Rules of Engagement class, is probably the class every concealed carrier should take. Really do. And I say that as somebody, I make nothing from that. Moss won't pay me anything for that. Although Moss, if you ever watch this and you wanted to, we could talk about it.
By the way, I've taken gun sight classes and I've taken all the MAG classes and the Lethal Force Institute classes back in the old days. And I would definitely, I know this is blasphemous to say in Arizona, but I would pick MAG 40 over gun sight 250. I really would.
I've taken both of those.
And that's not taking anything away from gun sight. They're great, but I think MAG is just
Gunsight 250 is a great basic shooting class for people who want to learn how to shoot. Mag 40 is an incredible 20 hours of classroom instruction on the legal side of use of force, and then good basic principles of defensive marksmanship too. So just good basics there. Is Moss a little old school on the range? Yeah. He's a little old school on the range. Would I teach the same techniques he does today? No, I would teach the techniques a little bit differently. But if you can pass Mag 40, I'll tell you, I have exactly in my office, I have one memento of shooting skill, and it's my $5 bill for my Mag 40 class. I beat Moss. Scored a 300 on that. I have the target. I have the $5 bill.
It's so funny because I tied him at 300 and I've got my $1 bill signed by him. Yeah, it's one of my treasured items.
He missed one shot that day. So I beat him 300 and I have a $5 bill, and my $5 bill sign says,
"You beat me at my own game.
The YouTube kid can shoot," signed by Moss. And so I have that framed in my office. So there you go for that. So third party stuff. Tim, always appreciate it.
Always, man. My pleasure. Thanks.